Hey there, and welcome back to another one of my SSS guides for Arknights. Today we'll be looking at Raythean Industries Test Platform. This one is a bit of a nightmare for my original team, so I'll admit. Usually I use exactly the same team. Today we're going to be switching up the team just a tiny little bit and making some minor adjustments because of the mechanics of this stage to make it easier to use the same core strategy. But obviously we're going to need to add a little bit of healing. So without further ado, we're going to be obviously doing it on emergency and aiming to do it flawlessly. Similar to Mama John's and one of the other two SSS towers, we have these heavy insulated concrete blocks. So while they're sitting in your deployment zone, they add +2 cost to all other units. For this one, I've done clears using the energy perturbation amplifier, but I highly recommend moving towards the portable first aid kit for this. And just like every other SSS tower, we're going to be using exactly the same tactical equipment and configurations. This has not changed ever for any of my guides. And the main reason is, particularly for this one, because we will be actually including some medics in the team. The nice part about having medic on B is that you don't change the DPS setups. So if you have to deploy a medic in a DPS slot, you're not affecting how much damage output you can have later on. And so here's the team. So some of the changes, I'm adding Moo Gang over Black Knight. And we take out the Mud Rock and we placed Ptilo into the team. The rest of the team should be more or less familiar. We have Reed Alter, which is a change that we made since the Akahawalan jungle. But for the most part, this is going to be exactly the same core strategy and more or less exactly the same team. A couple things. Nian S3 is actually useful for this. It's not a requirement, but either Nian S3 or Shamar S2 will be quite useful for floor 5 of this stage. I end up using Nian S3 more. If you don't have Nian, don't worry, Shamar works. There's some other ways around it as well, which I'll point out at that time. And then otherwise, Sar is going to be switching between S1 and S2. Generally, towards the later part of the run, we'll move towards S2. And otherwise, everything else should be relatively straightforward. And let's get started. So the whole mechanic of this tower is that everything is cancerous and toxic, and it hurts. The further down you go, the more it hurts. So just be aware. One thing we'll be looking to pick up more of, definitely Vanguards. Another sniper. And then we could pick up some more supporters. Note that you don't necessarily have to bring Gladiia in this. Gladiia is a nice backup to have to be able to cycle a specific unit that you might have in mind, reset a position, something like that. So I find it's very cost effective to bring Gladiia, but you could always free up the slot to bring one of the other buffs that you know that you'll want later on in the run. We're going to be fishing a little bit and seeing what we build on the way. Keep in mind, when presented with the option to skip a unit, I do recommend taking it. Obviously, as usual, we dump our...
Let's show them what we can do. Stay clear of the blast.
Okay, so let's start putting some units down. You don't have to be in a huge rush to replace the to drop these concrete blocks down. Try and have some DP left over. Like in this case, I know that's my eggs is going to die, so I want to make sure to have units lined up and ready to replace the slot before I drop these down, which I don't have. So I'm going to go ahead and do this and replace the. What you're going to see me do a bit more is that because the because things are a bit shorter in. And there we go. So Medic B just activated. We reset our Saga. So because of how short a lot of these maps are, we're going to be using caster buffs or Vanguard buffs to help out with the with the Golden Glow as well. So like you can see, we didn't even fully buff Golden Glow. It doesn't matter too much in the first two stages. You're going to see it a couple times over the course of the run where we don't actually fully buff the Golden Glow. We're still going to put her down just because we're trying to meet certain timings. So if you get the buffs, you get the buffs. If you don't, you don't. And whatever happens, happens. The bigger part about this tower is going to be survivability. Survivability just generally sucks for this. So I'm going to be rushing through the first couple of stages. Stuff starts to definitely pick up towards the fourth stage. So we have a couple of good options here. Also, one note is that I'm only bringing 2 medics. Feel free to bring an extra one. As I'll talk about in the later floors, you can get bad RNG and just not get a medic. They're going to all be put all the way to the bottom of your deck, and it's going to hurt. And you might lose a flawless over it. So I highly recommend you do, if you have an opportunity. Like this one, I have better options to pick here. But if Lumen was one of the few good ones, Lumen is considered a good one for this one. So I'm going to take the Courier. And then Shining is not a bad option actually for this. So as you see, I don't take guards anyway. Shining is not a bad option to take. I won't prioritize medics, but I will not pass them up if there's nothing else really to take anyway.
Ready to go. Clear. 流れに沿いて行きなさい。あんたたちの恨みいただくね。あれ。空気の陸地乾きすぎね。
I'm gonna let Courier just pop so that I can and then replace with Saga. And now, what you can do is you can start building up a second Vanguard spot here.
Ready to go.
Alright, so Golden Glow is ready to go. We're gonna put the Saria down. Saria is going to help tank for us. And then from here, you don't necessarily have to worry about a second buff. And then we should be able to more or less just AFK for the rest of the run. For this floor anyway. This is a little bit of a slower strat. Obviously, you could be aiming to kill the enemies here. If you care enough. And there we go. Here, I'm not going to pay too much attention to the extra spawns because I tend to do my guides without gadgets. But if it is incredibly highly recommended you aim to get one of the +2 equipment spawns. So we have Sail and Earth Spirit. Mudrock is actually not a bad pickup either. She's kind of useful for floor 4. But otherwise, I find her a bit of an expense to bring on the team. And I recommend not bringing her on this. You can also skip this pickup. This will help later when you're trying to ensure that you do have one of the medics at the beginning. In this case, we have 2 medics. I was running it with 1 medic before, and I did have a reset on floor 6 because I did not have enough medics, and I did not reset far enough. You also have Sail and Earth Spirit, so Earth Spirit can be good for cycling a bit more. Sail, I would say we have enough Vanguards, so I'm going to stick with the Earth Spirit to cycle more. And once again, we have a similar situation here. There's a few good options. Silence to cycle more is never a bad thing. We're pretty decent on the Vanguards, so... Alright, so we're going to reset our Nian, our box, and our Gladiia. This is one of the main things of why Suzerain's so good for this. Whoa, too far.
頑張ります。私もそう思ってた。命令余っている。みんな助けに来たよ。わあ、みんなこっち来て。不法者はどこだ。お安いご用。一つアイデアが浮かんできた。納豆5本。ついてきて。キャンディーを水が形に沿うように。ロックンロール。
Alright, so we didn't get the ones that we wanted. In this pick, I would take either one of these or one of these. This is the absolute worst gadget option possible. Either way, I'm going to be discarding it. Let's go ahead and start cycling more. And even with all those supporters, we still ended up getting stuck. And here we could use the Gladiia to kind of get ourselves out of it. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. He's going to be the end of this wave. This probably won't kill, but... Okay. And I'm just looking for a couple more buffs. And I got 2. And there we go. That should be the end of the run, or the end of this map anyway. Now, if you have extra time, you can start setting up another set of buffs right here. You can go for another caster buff setup. And then try and build an Aya in time, but it's not a big deal. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This is what you want as a priority. We didn't see the second best, which is the one with the little triangle that lets you discard up to 2 units from your preparation zone. The equipment activation valve is by far the best that you can take.
中でこそ人は成長する。そうでしょ。
Nice and clean. We're on to level 4. Level 4 does have a little bit of a spike, but level 5 is where it really starts to get more difficult. I went for a stimulation shot the last time I did this. I'm sure efficiency capsule is also good. Getting extra attack, whatever. I don't think either choice matters. From here is where you could start changing Sare to S2. Wow, that's some not so great luck. Alright, I think we're ready to put down our... We're ready to put down our Golden Glow. That means the run is more or less ready to continue. And I'm gonna get one more cast out of Saga, replace with Courier, drop the Nian down. You can also use Nian here. Nian will die, that's not a problem. Now that Golden Glow is prepped, it's less of a problem. Replace with the Gladiia. And GG. Alright, on to floor 5. This is where it starts getting significantly harder. I would like to take another cruise, Glint, because we have been a little bit slow on getting the the Golden Globe prepped. And then here, Black Knight is fine. This is not a great option. Roberta's okay. But otherwise, Black Knight is probably the best option that we have here. And this is where Saria on S2 starts becoming more relevant. I'd say Saria on S1 is still perfectly viable, but probably best to just, if you remember to switch it here, switch it now, because it will be less relevant. S1 will be less relevant for the next stage. You'll definitely want S2. I found it much easier for S2 on floor 6. Alright, so our team looks pretty much fine. Let's go ahead and get it started. And this one is a bit more particular. So remember at the beginning when I talked about Nian with S3? So Nian's S3 is going to be valuable for giving a group buff for getting extra defense. And there's two other methods that we can deal with the missile launchers that are going to spawn on the top lane. One is that we use summons. So we can use Ling, we can use Black Knight, Moo Gang, whatever it is that you brought for that slot, and drop the summon here. Remember, that also means that when you have the cement block, do not place it on the top because that will block you from using a summon on the top. And the third option is Shamar. Similar thing, you drop your debuff doll on the top right here, and it lowers the missile launcher's attack enough that it's survivable.
Ready to go. Target spotted.
I'm waiting for my Shining to come up. Let's replace that so we're full health here. Okay. Looking better. The first missile launcher does take a while to move, so don't be super worried for now. But you do want to deal with it, obviously. Okay, so we got that one down. If we lose the Angelina, it's not a big deal. Okay, we're fine. Okay, that's more than enough buffs. And we're gonna leave the Gnosis here for a little bit. And it's going to be a while before the next missile launcher. So you have a little bit of breathing room here. And it's only going to be a single launcher for the second one as well. But then you will get a double launcher or elite launcher or something like that. And it will hurt. Trust me, it does hurt. So it's going to be a little bit of some time before he moves up. Okay, we got all of these out of the way. I'm gonna leave the Shamar. We're a little bit slower than where I'd like to be at this point. So I want to kill this tree. There we go, done. Alright, we have a little bit of downtime. And then we're going to replace the Myrtle with Nian. And here we go. You're nice and safe under Nian's protection. Like I mentioned, you could be using other methods. You can be using a summon here in the back, or many other things. Just to draw aggro of the first missile barrage, it should give you enough time, especially if you have a very advanced damage dealer up here, a read alter, something like that, would be more than enough. Keep in mind that if you're not using the portable first aid kit, those missile launchers will rip through you really fast. I'm showing you the guide with it, but if you decide to do it without it, it hurts. They do hurt. And we're towards the end of the run now. I'm not really getting great options here. I'm gonna take the puzzle. And it will be more obvious why I'm deciding to take this now. After, and I think we're just going to skip this one. Granny or Carnelian are not bad options either. But I'm going to go ahead and skip this. Also, actually, we could take the Blitz too. But I would say it's not necessary. So let's see what we get as a starting team. And this is going to be where it really requires you to take a few moments to think. So these are no-brainers. We got Saria, we got one Vanguard. I'm going to call this one Vanguard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the Read Alter and the Gladiia from this. What you want to do is set up a Saria with at least 3 Vanguard buffs right in front of the blue gate. That is your primary goal. The best solution, the best case scenario, you have 4 Vanguard buffs and the Nian buff, or like one other defender buff if you ended up picking up another defender. That's the best case scenario. We got 1, 2, 3. So we got really lucky here. This is not a very common thing to happen. And we're going to be setting up our Golden Glow up here on the top left of Texas. And then something like a Reed Alter or Aya on the bottom right of Texas. Our Sculptor can go on the bottom left of Texas. If she survives, that's fine. Or a different healer is fine too. See, we didn't get a healer out of this. Oh, we got another buff. And as you can see, this poison debuff ticks really fast. So especially when you don't have a healer to start, so we just got one here. It hurts. It hurts to say the least. Because I still want to generate DP. And I'm going to save my caster buffs, so this is the same as a caster buff. I'm going to save my caster buffs for when the Saria does go down. So we have Mumu Gang and Black Knight that we can use to put a caster buff. I'm probably going to end up using one on the top here.
I'm all stocked. Watch for the blast. ご命令を。
さっさと片付けるぞ。お安いご用よ。中とは中、すなわち鋳造は万象の支柱なり。
I didn't get it in time. I think. And we got our Saria down. Alright, so the top here. Let's burn all this and see what we get. Nothing. We haven't gotten any of our concrete blocks. Like, this has been pretty much the ideal that you can get. Since I know those concrete blocks are coming, I'm gonna go ahead and swap into the Golden Glow right now. And then once she procs, she's gonna be able to hit in front of the Saria here. And then we're gonna start setting up our buffs on the bottom right. And if you have a chance, start setting up another Vanguard buff, because we will end up putting the Nian down later in the run, if we have an opportunity to do so. Don't forget, once the Saria is down, if you have no other Vanguards, you're not going to be generating too much DP, and we're about to be hitting those concrete blocks right now. Somehow they're right at the bottom. Trust me, I'm not cheating, I think. There they are. 1, 2... Remember, the more damage you deal to Tumor, the more, the more he dislikes you, to say the least. Which, we don't mind. We dislike him too. We're letting him know. So, Tumor's special thing, I think a bunch of the bosses have had something similar, is that he throws shit into your... What I'm gonna do is I'm going to use the Gladiia to save my Aya, in case it just takes too long to rotate through. Because we just reset our prep squad, what will happen is... we'd have to go through that entire 18 units and then cycle through until however many to get Aya back. So this is just a safer play to keep the Aya in the back pocket here. Boss is almost dead already. It doesn't matter if he makes it around, it's fine. So remember that enemies go invisible when you pull one of those gas canisters that he leaves behind.
本気で行くよ
And we did find the Nian. I'm not terribly worried about getting the Nian now.
強化しろ。あっちに行く。
お遊戯の時間だよモルテ少しは真面目に
And this is a fully stacked Aya at this point.
すぐに終わる。
リンゴちゃん今日もよろしくね
So because we got the fully stacked Aya, I'm gonna go ahead and replace the Myrtle with the Nian. And then this will carry us to the end of the run. So like I mentioned at the beginning, the unit picks and everything that I got were by far optimal. They're usually really not even close to that good. But if you follow the same basic strategy, that you're aiming to get at least 3 stacks of Vanguard on your Saria, even if you're not running the portable first aid kit, you will still clear.
少しはついても知れませんよ
諦めるな。
And there we go.
私とちびっ子たちの戦いっぷりはどうだった？褒めてくれないの？
Flawless emergency Raythean Industries Test Site. And there we go. Hopefully this helped. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. And then otherwise, I'll see you next time on the next set of SSS maps. Cheers.